The hum of flickering fluorescent lights echoed faintly through the early morning silence of Martin's Market. Outside, a soft drizzle painted the windows gray, while inside, a storm quietly brewed inside a young woman's heart. Ellie, barely 22, sat alone in the break room with her back against the wall, knees pulled to her chest, her shoulders trembling with silent sobs. In her trembling hands, she clutched a crumpled eviction notice. Just an hour earlier, she'd barely made it to work after skipping breakfast to ensure her autistic brother had medication and her ailing mother had a blanket over her fevered body. Her world was collapsing. She didn't notice the janitor, at least, that's what he appeared to be, sitting nearby, watching her with quiet concern. Joe, in reality, was Joseph Martin, founder and CEO of Martin's Market, worth nearly $500 million. Disguised in second-hand jeans, a worn-out work shirt, and a fake name tag, he was doing what few executives dared to do. Working undercover in his own store. He wanted to understand his employees, their struggles, their truth. This truth, he realized, was heavier than he expected. "You all right, kid?" he asked, his voice warm but roughened by age and wisdom. Ellie startled. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think anyone was here. I'm okay. Just a rough morning." Joe gave a gentle smile. "I've had a few of those myself. Wanna talk?" After a long pause, Ellie nodded. In halting words, she spoke of the relentless struggle, her father's sudden death, her mother's illness, her brother's needs, and the crushing pressure of barely surviving. Joe listened intently, his heart aching. But they were not alone. Unbeknownst to them, the store manager, Carla Henderson, stood just outside the break room door, arms crossed, lips curled in disdain. Carla was the kind of person who viewed employees as numbers, disposable, replaceable, and beneath her attention. She saw Ellie's breakdown not as a human moment, but as a liability. Later that day, as Ellie returned from stocking shelves, Carla called her into the office. "You were crying in the break room this morning." "Again," Carla said coldly. "This is a workplace, not a therapy session. If you can't keep it together, maybe this job isn't for you." Ellie was stunned. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. I promise." "Don't promise," Carla sneered. "Just do your job. And by the way, your till came up $4.32 short last night. One more mistake like that and I'll have to report it to HR." Tears threatened again, but Ellie held them back. She nodded and quietly left the office. Joe, watching from down the aisle, had seen Carla summon her, and Ellie return more broken than before. Something didn't sit right. That night, he accessed store footage, digging through hours of tapes. He found Carla intentionally shorting Ellie's till during closing counts, just enough to blame her, but not enough to raise alarms. It was a setup. Joe's face darkened. Now this wasn't just about compassion, it was about justice. Over the next few days, Joe made notes, collected footage, and started observing more. He noticed how Carla barked at employees, cut hours without notice, and ignored safety concerns. Multiple staff members feared speaking up, worried about losing their jobs. One evening, Joe asked Ellie if she'd ever considered talking to upper management. She gave a bitter laugh. "Upper management doesn't care. No one ever listens to people like me." Joe's jaw clenched. "They will now." 3 days later, the district sent out an announcement: the CEO would be visiting their store in person. The break room buzzed with panic and anticipation. Carla rushed around barking orders, making everyone polish shelves and smile like mannequins. She even pulled Ellie aside and whispered, "If you say one wrong word in front of the CEO, I swear I'll make sure you never work in this town again." Ellie just nodded, heart pounding. When the CEO finally walked in, the room froze. Every face went pale. There, standing tall in a crisp navy blue suit with polished shoes, was Joe, the janitor. Carla's face drained of all color. I've been undercover in this store for the past week, Joe began calmly. What I saw, deeply disturbed me. But I also met someone who reminded me what strength, courage, and selflessness truly look like. He turned to Ellie, who now stood trembling. Ellie, I listened when you thought no one was listening. And I want the world to hear your story. He pulled out a folder and projected a security footage clip of Carla manipulating the till count. Gasps rippled across the room. Joe continued, effective immediately, Carla Henderson is terminated for gross misconduct, manipulation of employee records, and creating a hostile work environment. Carla tried to speak, but security had already arrived to escort her out. Then Joe turned to Ellie again. In addition to cleaning up this store's leadership, I'm launching a new program called the Martin's Care Fund to support employees facing hardship. Ellie and her family will receive 1 year of full financial assistance, including housing, medical care, and her brother's therapy. Ellie's eyes welled with tears. Joe smiled gently. And a full scholarship to any college of your choice, whenever you're ready. The room erupted into applause. Several co-workers embraced Ellie, no longer afraid to speak up. One even whispered, "Thank you for being brave enough to cry." Later, as they stood alone near the front door, Joe said softly, "I didn't just see your pain, Ellie. I saw your light. And now the world will too." Ellie smiled for the first time in a long while. "Thank you, for listening." Joe nodded. Sometimes, that's all it takes to change someone's world. A month later, Joe received a letter. Dear Mr. Martin. I used to think no one saw me. That no one cared. But you didn't just change my life. You saved it. I start my first semester next week. My little brother is smiling again. My mom's breathing easier. I don't feel invisible anymore. I hope one day I can do for someone what you did for me. With all my heart, thank you. Ellie. Joe framed that letter and hung it in his office, right above the words he inscribed on a plaque for every store entrance. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you cannot see. Be kind. Be human. Be the reason someone believes in goodness again. Sometimes, the people the world overlooks are the ones holding the world together. A single act of empathy can unravel injustice, restore dignity, and spark a chain of kindness that transforms lives.